The future of work and leadership always starts with us. Welcome to the Dr. Ginny Show. Let's dive in. Hello, my friends, and welcome to this episode of the Dr. Ginny Show. Today, we are talking about how to become more resilient when the pressure doesn't stop. This is why this episode is important for us. Before we dive in, if you are a mid to senior level leader, like many of my clients in financial services, in a STEM career, or a growth industry, the chances are that you have felt stretched thin. You're going from one meeting to the next, whether it's a Zoom meeting or live meeting. You're putting out the fire, supporting your team. You're keeping up with constant change. And at the end of the day, you're running on fumes. Does this sound familiar to you? You're not alone, my friends. A Gallup study in 2024 showed that burnout employees take 63% more sick days and are 2.5 more likely to be looking for another job. So if you are concerned about yourself and about your team and your retention, let's make sure we pay attention to this episode. So when the pressure doesn't stop, which is what we're faced with, especially with downsizing and our teams getting smaller and the work not going away, how do you function effectively? How do you keep your edge at work and still have something left for yourself and your family at the end of the day? That's what we're going to focus on today. In this episode, we're going to explore 3 practical and empowering strategies you can implement immediately to manage your energy, to lead with clarity, and to continue driving results, even on the days when you feel like you're barely getting by. And the goal will be that we won't get to the point where we're barely getting by. Let's start with the first strategy. Strategy number 1 is notice your energy early. Most of us high-performing, high-achieving leaders, we don't even realize we are drained until we hit the wall. Have you ever been there? I think most of us have. It would be almost impossible for someone in our audience to not have been there. That moment when you snap at someone, when you're short with a team member, when you stare blankly at the screen at 9 p.m., or you sit in a meeting and nothing is landing. Everything bothers you. Those are small telltale signs that you're going into this burnout mode and it's time to reset your energy and it's time to notice before you get to that point. The signs of this feeling drained show up much earlier than when we actually experience them. For example, you could have foggy thinking. You can have short patience, as I mentioned, and also you can feel the tension in your body. The body is a beautiful instrument that is constantly communicating with you. All we need to do is start to listen more attentively. For example, I notice I need an energy reset when all I want to do and all my body wants me to do is to go out for a walk. That happens throughout the day, and it also happens toward the end of my day. I envision myself going outside to take a walk. When I was in my corporate role, the way that I would feel this intuitively was during my lunchtime. I would want to go out for a walk, preferably with my friends. And just taking this short 30-minute walk, depending on the weather, of course, allowed me to decompress, to switch modes, to recharge my battery, and connect with other humans, my friends, and that replenished my energy during the day. I could do this during the warmer days of the spring, summer, and autumn, of course. The winter, I could still take that walk, but it required a lot of bundling up. And that's okay too. Now, as the CEO of Executive Bound, what I do in the mornings is I typically go for my walk early in the morning. It's part of my fitness routine, and that recharges me for the day. I get to start my day focused and knowing that I got my walking in, and it just refreshes my mind movie. It flushes out anything that is going through my mind that I need to work through. And that's what I do during this time, to flush my system and clear my mind. So if you're not yet doing something like this to check your levels of energy throughout the day, throughout the week, I'm going to give you a few helpful strategies that you can leverage to gauge your energy. Once a day, ask yourself, where is my energy level on a scale of 1 to 10? And be honest with yourself. No judgment, we're simply doing an assessment. If your answer is under a 5, please don't push through. Step away for a walk, switch the tasks that you're doing, grab some water, walk the dog, or take a quick reset, whatever that looks like for you. For some of us, that's breath work, where you can be at a meeting, you could be at your desk, and you simply take in a few breaths. Let's say you breathe in on a count of 4 and you exhale on a count of 6. Make your exhale longer than you inhale, and that would calm your nervous system, calm your vagus nerve, and help you do a mind-body reset. These small check-ins will keep you in the game and will help you assess where you are before you feel the burnout. Strategy number 2 to become more resilient when the pressure doesn't stop is to model boundaries your team and the people around you can see. As a leader, when you have a role model mentality, which is one of the mindset shifts I needed to make when I started my business, I wanted to role model for my team what I wanted them to do instead of telling them what to do. So this is how this works. Your team is paying more attention to what you're doing than to what you're saying. And if you're emailing at midnight or texting them at midnight, they'll assume that they should too. If that's not what you want, we must be self-aware, emotionally intelligent enough to recognize that this is how we are behaving in the moment and stop ourselves in our tracks. I'm going to share with you briefly some of the tactics I use to still get the idea out and not email at midnight or text my team at midnight. Harvard Business Review reported last year in 2024 that when leaders model clear boundaries, like not sending late night emails or actually taking vacation, that employee engagement rises by more than 20% and the stress drops. That's significant. That's something under our control, sending an email late night. The great managers that I had in my career have always been very clear about their expectations of me when I'm on vacation, for example. They didn't expect me to answer emails or join meetings from the beach or wherever I was vacationing. They made it very clear that they don't want me to be replying to emails while I'm away. And if you really think about this, isn't that a sign of how you're leading and running your team and your business? If your team cannot handle something when you're not there, what is wrong with that picture? How are you developing and training your team so that when you're not there, there's either another senior leader that could respond in your behalf or somebody from your team is able to support the person or the stakeholder who's reaching out? That is a big sign that perhaps you need to do a little work in that area. There's nothing better than having an unplugged vacation because our teams need to unplug and completely recharge and restore their energy. That's how they become high achieving, high performing, and continue to deliver on the goals and initiatives that you are setting out for the team. The same thing happens when I went on maternity leave. I was away for 3 months with my son Kyle. It was the summertime. And my manager said, I do not want you to be logging in and checking on things and how things are going. Of course, I left everything prepared for my team to be able to run the business while I was not there. And that felt so good to be able to care for my son and be completely present for him without worry that I was going to either lose my job or be seen as a non-performer or be expected to deliver while I was on maternity leave. That was such a peace of mind. So if you're a manager who have employees who are on parental leave, I highly recommend that you really carve out that time for them to do what they're meant to be doing during that time instead of worrying about work. Boundaries are not about working less. Our teams become more focused and more high performing when we make work sustainable. And emailing in the middle of the night, texting in the middle of the night, or not having boundaries around time off, or even asking team members to take time off is a form of self-care that will expand the well-being of your team. It's healthy for you and the team members you lead. In my work today as a CEO and having a virtual team, I want to share with you what I do so that I don't forget an idea that comes up for me late at night. What I typically do is I would draft the email that I'm going to send to my team member. And now I use Google Calendar. I have the option to schedule my email to go out the next morning at 8 a.m. And that's what I would most likely do. Other times, if I do send a text or an email that's later in the day, I actually tell my team this is for tomorrow's work. So they don't have an expectation that I want them to reply to the email or the text that I send immediately. And that to me is really important. And I will even say why I'm sending it at this time and tell them do not reply to this. That's a little hack that I use for myself. But as I mentioned, my number one go-to is to schedule it for the next morning. So I don't forget it and it's done and off my list. The third strategy that I'm going to share with you so that you and your team can become more resilient when the pressure doesn't stop is to keep it simple by following one ritual. I know we want to overcomplicate things and do a lot more than we can possibly do in one day. You don't need a big resilience program for you and your team. One simple and small consistent practice can reset the tone for the week. And if you do this consistently, it will set the tone for the month and the quarter and the year. The end result is that you will continue to deliver. You will drive change. You will empower your team. You will retain talent. You will keep that talent to continue the work that needs to be done. And you will feel better. Everybody will feel better. That counts for so much. Research from McKinsey this year, 2025, show that teams with even one resilience ritual, like a short check-in, I'm talking only 30 minutes, are less likely to burn out. That doesn't seem to be extreme in any way. What's great about checking in? Ultimately, we are all human. When you as a manager who wants to drive business goals, take the time to find out how your team members are doing, you humanize them, and you create more meaning and a sense of belonging at work. And all that does is build more trust. And when I have more trust, I will give you more discretionary effort because I like and enjoy what I am doing. I appreciate the people that I do it with. Therefore, I'm all in. So a simple check-in could be one of the rituals that you adopt. At the end of the day, pick something simple and actually do it. And most importantly, be consistent with it because many of us can start things in our personal lives and professionally. And the problem that we have is we're not consistent. We start, we stop. When we are consistent with one simple ritual, we begin to relieve the pressure without overwhelming yourself or overwhelming the team. Another one that you could try is, for example, at the end of the week, take 10 minutes with your team and ask them 3 questions. The first question is, what is one thing we should start doing to make our work easier? The next question, what is one thing we should stop doing that's draining us or wasting time? And the third question you can ask your team is, what is one thing we should continue because it's actually working? And let everybody in your team give you one answer. You capture it and you move on to the next person. Over time, that simple rhythm shifts the pressure. Your team feels seen, heard, the small drains get addressed before they build up, and the team leaves Friday lighter instead of carrying it all into their weekend and into their families. As we wrap up, resilience doesn't mean smiling through everything. Some days, resilience looks like getting through the day without losing yourself. So here's my challenge for you this week. Pick one of these 3 strategies. Check in on your energy level on a scale of 1 to 10. How's my energy? And depending on the answer, if it's 5 or less, follow one of these tactics that I share with you. Model one boundary with your team, whether it's not sending emails late or text or messages through Slack late during the evening, and taking unplugged vacations, or start a small ritual with your team. whether it's going through those 3 questions, what to start, what to stop, and what to continue, or checking in with them. Any of these rituals would work, but pick one and stick to it and do it consistently for 2 weeks and see how that works. None of these are complicated, and when you start putting them into practice, you will notice the difference. You would feel less drained, more invigorated, with more clarity, more focus, and your team will take your cues. As leaders, it always starts with us. That's how we stay in the game, even when the pressure doesn't stop. And we know it is relentless. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Share this episode with your network if you find it valuable. I hope you do. We aim to provide the most value we possibly can. I would love to support you and your team, so let's connect at callwithginny.com or email us at info@executivebound.com. And if you want to know what events we're up to, you can visit drginnybarrow.com/events and find out about our next masterclass coming up. I'm so excited to host you and your team members to help you gain more clarity, more confidence, and clarify the vision for the next 12 months. And let's set up a discovery session and let's talk about challenges, what's getting in the way of that vision, and how we can support you through it. If you're also looking for an engaging and relatable speaker, let's talk. Lead with purpose, live with joy. I'll see you at the next episode. If you enjoyed today's content, I appreciate your review so others can find us, and share it with your friends. And to stay in touch, join our community to receive valuable strategies and expert advice at drginnybarrow.com. See you soon.